Julian here from WSOU. I'm lucky to be joined by the man behind Dethklok, home movies, Metalocalypse, and much more, Brendon Small.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So Dethklok is heading out on the AmonKlok tour this year, joined alongside Amon Amarth, Dethklok, and Castle Rat. What can you tell me about that? What are you anticipating for that tour?
Well, I just talked to Johan not too long ago, and we're both very excited because this is going to be a very theatrical, fun show. I think live music is really fun. Just to watch people on stage perform music from records is really awesome. But in our case, we I think all these bands sh share a theatrical nature. Like ours is like a pre-produced visual. Amon Amarth has tons of stuff on stage. Castle Rat is like embodied in costumes and all kinds of stuff. So I think what we want to do is like we want you guys to come out and experience like the most fun you're gonna have at a heavy show. And basically that's the idea. It's like heavy metal Disneyland, basically, is what I think it's gonna feel like.
I think that's the perfect way to sum it up. Heavy metal Disneyland. That was my first thought when I saw the tour announcement. It's like, wow, all these super theatrical bands. I know Castle Rat's been getting some traction lately because they do
Yeah.
some really cool artsy stuff on stage. Is there anything that Dethklok is going to do different this time around?
We've got like it's almost like I consider it like a roller coaster, like space going back to Disneyland. By the way, there's so much kind of Disneyland inside of Metalocalypse too. There's just like just as far as like big, grandiose corporate stuff, but in this case, extreme metal. Um, we are going to like it's I think it's our job to kind of be able to add some stuff to the show each time we do it, to swap some stuff out, to do some stuff you've never seen before. And that's what our goal is, is to make sure that we've got enough pretty cool, fun new stuff to keep you guys excited and surprised. Our show is like it is kind of like we have a structure that we work inside of. And the idea is like, how do we mix it up? How do we keep it fresh? How do we keep it exciting so you can keep on getting on the same roller coaster and getting the same kind of thrill ride? So, and the crazy thing about the way we've decided to do our show is that, you know, we have to have visuals for every single song that we play. So it's a question of being able to find a way to do new stuff and to finance it and all that stuff. So that's kind of my job, is to make sure that there's enough stuff to keep you guys excited. But you will be seeing stuff you've never seen before, that Dethklok has never played live before, and some classics and some things that we haven't played in a long time. So yeah, so the idea is like I sit there with Gene Hoglan, drummer, and we talk about kind of the whole oeuvre of all the things we record, and we ask ourselves what would be very cool. What is the ideal live song too? That is something we think about because I go and see bands and they're in live experience, and sometimes they do like a bunch of slow ballads, and I think live is about energy and it's about fast stuff and it's about getting that right tempo, like really to keep the audience just completely engaged the whole time. So that's
Yeah.
our goal. It's like, how do we entertain the hell out of you? And how do we mix it up? And how do we keep some things the same and find some places to really do some new stuff? And
Yeah.
it's a really fun challenge. It's a super fun challenge.
And so you kind of wrapped up the Dethklok story with that final Metalocalypse movie, but are you planning on maybe releasing another Death album? And is like any other form of like media, like an animated short, ruled out?
There is it's really funny. It's I don't know if you saw the promo that we did with Johan from Amon Amarth for like the Dethklok kind of the launch when we announced this whole thing, but it was really funny. After I did that, I got a lot of people and some people interested in like, is there a world of Dethklok where we can just hang out with them and just kind of be around these characters again? And I think, it's a possibility. In fact, that might be a nice proof of concept that we put out. So it's never off the table. It's always like, it's not like we're not like a band either where like we can just kind of go make records. We need like a kind of a good reason to do more stuff. Like we need like a lot of entertainment happening at once. Like for example, a couple years ago, a movie, not just a movie, but a record and a score album too at the same time. So that's a lot of work just for one thing. So we kind of like are like still living inside of that energy, but also the idea is like, how can we just celebrate the 20 years, the whole oeuvre, the celebration of the entire, the whole feeling of the show. And that's what the live tour really is. So there's a possibility, there's a possibility for all that stuff. I'm definitely always working on music here. When I release it will probably be, I don't know exactly when I'll release it, but I'm always working on writing music. I'm always working on stuff under the name of Dethklok. Maybe I'll release it under the name of Galacticon. Maybe I'll release it. I'm not sure, but I'm always working on stuff. I'm always working on stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And between home movies and Metalocalypse, was there ever a moment where you f kind of felt like, wow, like I've kind of made it, like you were really feeling like people were resonating with the stuff that you were creating? I know like in the late 2000s, Dethklok was big enough that the characters were getting interviews in Guitar Magazine.
Yeah, okay. Well, home movies, no, absolutely not. When we did the show, it was kind of always a disaster. It couldn't like hold its time slot well. We started on a network and then we went to Adult Swim as Adult Swim was being born basically. And even when we were on Adult Swim, people kind of didn't know what to make of the show. This kind of loosey, improv-y, low-key, character-driven thing was not something that people understood. Only only after when the show was finished and we put it on DVD did people start kind of understanding what it was and seeing that there's a whole world there. So while we were making it, we really liked the show. We were really confident. We were really happy with how it turned out. Like I said, I kind of felt protective of it by not, I was so protective that I didn't want to kind of rip it off and do it again, like because I thought we kind of did exactly what I was hoping we would do with it. Then Metalocalypse happened, and Metalocalypse is kind of like what I learned from home movies is that I got to play my guitar a little bit. I got to write some music and I got to produce and act and do all the stuff that I enjoy doing. And so I kind of kept on asking myself, what's the ultimate job? And I thought, because I love guitar, because I went to music school, because I love heavy metal, how can I make that my job? How can I be able how can I build characters, be able to kind of improvise in their voices, write for them, and make music and get to play guitar live? Like how can I create the ultimate job for myself? And Metalocalypse kept on proving that that was kind of the ultimate job. It was very like labor intensive. And then on top of that, I love guitar magazines. I love the idea of being able to do a character interview these with these characters. That to me is a lot of fun. And just to kind of like permeate and punch through in the guitar world, just because I love guitars. I love guitars so much. I love all the players. I have so many heroes in the guitar world, but to be able to cross paths and venture into that world was a really exciting thing. And then, to build guitars with Gibson, to do all that crazy stuff, to build merch and all that stuff that has to do with the guitar world to me was exciting because ultimately, when I think about the audience of Metalocalypse, I think about myself when I was about 14 years old, discovering guitar and learning about who Slayer and Black Sabbath and King Diamond and Metallica and all those bands were. Because I thought, wouldn't it be cool if there was a TV show that celebrated all this stuff? And ultimately, I figured I'd probably have to be the one that makes it. So I did, and I got lucky that I had the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you perfectly filled that niche. There's like no other show out there that has like that perfect humor and relatability for metal fans and just mu musicians in general.
We've cornered the market on. There's no one else out there. It's just us. It's
Yeah.
just us. There's nobody else that did that. So, like I said, we've kind of like built out this live touring thing, and it's kind of a nice business. And since 2023, or even starting with 2019, which kind of kicked the door open to make the movie and to create more stuff. But over this past year, we went to Australia for the first time with the project, and we went to Europe, we went to, France, and we went to Denmark, and we went to, the Netherlands, and we played shows in England. We played, and the people sang along and knew the words because we're the only heavy metal animated thing, and it got all the way over there before we did. So it was really cool to finally kind of go out and play the show and show it to the people and to get such a nice response.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you ever had any kind of like full circle moment where some musician where you admired growing up ended up praising your work or you had the opportunity to work with them?
Oh, yeah. I mean, throughout the show, it was really like, it was kind of like that was part of the fun of creating the ultimate job is that I get to hire my heroes on guitar from Slash to Steve Vai to Joe Satriani to like Billy Gibbons to hang out and just talk to them and to know that they had an awareness of the show before we got to them. And to see that they were excited to see that music and comedy were all kind of being mixed together, and they were fans, and it was really neat to see that. And then not only just with the musicians, but like with directors that I love and actors that I love, to involve them on in the show and to just to get to see how they work and get to be around them, just to be in their presence, to me was the coolest thing in the world. So it was definitely like it was an excuse to contact heroes to collaborate with them and to make something that's funny, to give them an opportunity to be funny too, which I think everyone really does like in the heavy metal world. I just knew that. I knew like Cannibal Corpse wants to be able to be in on the joke and everybody else wants to be in on the joke, and let's have an opportunity to be funny together. And that was the idea early on.
That's great. And you said that the 2019 Adult Swim Festival was kind of the that event that turned the Return of Dethklok in motion.
Yeah, I kind of was getting the feeling that there was like I was getting the feeling that they were interested in us doing something because they knew that over the years we would always get really good, even when we weren't in production, in reruns or just like watching it on the website. There were a big group of people that were constantly checking out the show. So there was it was always kind of like, even though it wasn't in production, it was always kind of alive and new people were discovering it. And so we just knew that that was like, I'd hear people from like different companies get in touch with me and go, "Hey, you know that these are pretty good numbers and the show's kind of doing well, even in like an era where it hadn't been in production for years." And and then I knew just them kind of asking us to headline that 2019 Adult Swim Festival was probably like a door kind of being pried open just a little bit. And I thought, let's put on a great show. Let's just keep leveling things up visually. Let's kind of get our stagecraft together a little bit more, and let's just keep on tightening the screws on a show that's really cool. Let's keep making it better and better and better. And every time we come back to the live show, we tend to improve it just a little bit. We just do some little like, and what it ends up being now is a culmination of almost 20 years of kicking the tires and making the show tighter and better and more exciting and more entertaining. So for the people that are seeing it for like, maybe the second or third time, they're gonna just notice it's just a better show. People that are seeing it for the first time, we plan to blow your minds. That is our goal. Like, me and the band and the crew and everybody just want to entertain the hell out of you and make you go, "Wow, that's the best show I've seen." That's what we want. We're really aiming high, you know. So yeah, that 2019 show I think really did. So once we did that and kind of got to, showcase, the intensity of the live project, that kind of helped out. And so then we got, the talk started with the movie and all that.
That's great. In 2022, they did Adult Swim Festival in Philly, and I saw Dethklok was on the bill for that, and so I got two tickets, but none of my friends were able to go. But I wasn't gonna stay home, so I ended up going to it anyways, and alone, and it was so worth it. I did like the corpse paint and everything,
Nice.
and like that beginning sequence where they play like the thing on the screen in the back, and it just explodes into the theme song. Like that really blew me
Yeah,
away.
I mean, that's how we start the show, and that's kind of how we're going to continue starting the show because that to me, there's so much excitement in that feeling. Like the music that we put with picture and all that stuff before we even go on stage. To me, that's just like it just I can feel it with the audience every single night. We all get so excited. We get so excited to be there to kind of to show this. We're so proud of the show live. We can't wait to show it to people. Like me and Gene and Nilly and Pete and the crew and everybody. We're just like, we love showing the show off to people. We just have so much fun. So it'll be that, but it'll be new twists and turns and a new maze of a new gauntlet of craziness. And we've got our work cut out for us as musicians, as performers, and it really is like it's so much material and it's so like just perpetual motion in your right hand and as a guitar player, as a vocalist, it's a real pummeling and it's so much fun and it's so worth it.
Definitely. It's very, very exciting, very memorable, and I know I'm not the only person that feels that way. Not only people love the show, but people are always talking about how complex and how incredible like the music is. It definitely takes an incredible amount of skill for you guys to be pulling that stuff off live.
It's really hard. I mean, it's crazy because a lot of it started with me in a little tiny room, playing to a click track or programming drums. And then at some point you go, okay, let's put the whole thing together, put it up on its feet, and it's got to be super, super tight or we don't get to do it. And so everyone accepts that challenge to make something that's kind of difficult that was never even meant to be played live, really and then land it. So we've got some new versions of that you'll see that with some songs we've never played live before that are like just as like I mean every time you learn a new song or even a song that like I wrote at one point it's still just as difficult to kind of put it together. And it's like I said, it's the ultimate brain puzzle for me is doing this live show. I really like that I get to go out and do these live shows because most of the time I'm writing and I'm just thinking as hard as I can in a room and it's no fun and it's just like a head in a jar. But being physical on stage is another great challenge. I'm so glad that we have the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other year you guys did a tour with Baby Metal, which might seem kind of weird, like two seemingly different bands, but it fit together perfectly. I feel like the fan bases for that kind of melded perfectly. How did that tour come together?
It was that same kind of idea where like basically it starts with kind of a concept on my part. I have to have like that's my job as a show creator, as the guy, the Metalocalypse guy, is that I have to have a concept, and then fortunately I have usually a group of people that where I barf out some idea. They go, okay, well, how would we do this? So in this case, the idea was who else uses a screen like we use it, as a co-handler? Who's that Goldilocks sweet spot where they give a crazy, entertaining, heavy performance, and we give one too. And Baby Metal is not screwing around. They deliver the goods every single night. And it's very similar to our project in that the person who conceived of it, isn't even on stage. He's a guy who's, you know, like me from Japan who is like, I've got this idea. I want to do heavy things. I want to get this like these three singer dancers on stage. And I want to turn it like into something that you just can't believe is happening. So that was the idea, and that kind of like that to me rose the bar of what a live show should be. It shouldn't just be one band and a few other acts that are kind of okay. It should be every single act is worth seeing. You want to stay for the entire show, and you don't want to miss a frame of it. You don't want to miss a moment of it at all. And that's what Baby Metal was, and that's what like going out with Necrogoblikon and Dragon Force even like we did another smaller run where like everyone is bringing their A game and entertaining like crazy and it's theatrical and you can see it all on stage. You can see the production value. And so I think that's what would get me out of the house and that's what we're asking our audience to do is get out of the house and check out something. And in this case, Amon Amarth and Castle Rat is going to deliver something in that same in that same kind of place of total entertainment, total immersive entertainment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it does definitely get people out of the house. Like I have a dear friend of mine who is not necessarily a metalhead, but I got them into the show, watching it, and when that tour was announced, Baby Metal and Dethklok, because they're a huge Baby Metal fan, it was like the perfect show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's fun for us as artists to kind of be able to show like to give our best show and to try to impress Amon Amarth's audience or Amon Amarth to go like, hey, let's get some of these Dethklok people on board with us. But I mean, I think that's the Dethklok audience. They're metalheads, they're fans, and some of them are learning about metal for the first time, and that show kind of kicked a door open and was a gateway for people who didn't really have a cool older sibling or someone down the street that shows them about metal. Like, we don't those people don't always apparate and show up in front of us and teach us all that stuff. So our show was kind of that cool older brother or friend down the street that kind of shows you metal. I had a friend that taught me about all the heavy metal stuff. He's still a good friend of mine. But one day I went to his house and he showed me everything from Black Sabbath to King Diamond to everything. And I was like, holy sh, my life will never be the same because I've discovered this whole world of cool, dark, macabre, and totally entertaining.
Absolutely. And since you've been playing a lot more shows in recent years, has there been anything that you've been seeing while performing, like in the audience, that's really crazy or that stuck with you? I know one thing that's pretty consistent at the Dethklok shows is people who come dressed up as Dr. Roxo.
There's almost like every show has got at least a Dr. Oxo, if not several. But I keep seeing people cosplaying as side characters that keep getting more exciting. So, I mean, I think that's also the fun thing is our show is kind of like a heavy metal Comic-Con kind of vibe too, where you can kind of like y- you can dress as some peripheral character if you want to. You can just be yourself and observe all the craziness. But it is a really fun place to be. And our audiences are just so crazy and so insane and so excited that I feel like we're like the luckiest project in the world because I don't know any audience that goes as crazy as our audience. So it's really fun. I mean, it really is like it's a real spectacle. And that's what I think of like great heavy metal shows is like they should be just a total spectacle. Just to be in that energy is a really fun feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like you said, like a Comic-Con. Like there's a story and lore to the band. There's characters.
Yeah.
There's so much there. It's such a great experience. And have you ever heard any comparisons or have you ever taken any inspiration from the band Gorillaz?
Absolutely. That was the first like even in like like I remember there was like me and some of the other like people in the early stages of the thing. I was thinking, okay, here's my goal. I would like to write my challenge for myself is to write original music every single episode in addition to a script, good jokes and music maybe worth listening to. And what I'd love to do is take all these songs and maybe elongate them into a full length song because sometimes it's just a little tiny clip. And then if I make them into a record, then how would you tour them? Then I thought, well, what did the Gorillaz do? And I started watching all the live Gorillaz thing that I could watch. And I thought, that's cool. At the time, they were playing behind a scrim that was projected on, so you'd see like their shadows. And I thought, that's cool, but I think you need to like still connect a little bit more with the audience as being a live person. So people need to kind of be able to see you. But the truth is that I think it's interesting to see like the band generate the music, but we don't look like Dethklok, but we sound exactly like them. Exactly like them. So we want to make sure and let you kind of see us a little bit, but we don't want to break the spell. I don't want you really like, I don't need a spotlight on me because who the hell cares about me? I'm bad for the brand. I don't look like Nathan. I don't look like Pickles or Squiscar or any of those guys. I'm just a regular jerk who made it all, but I'm gonna what you're gonna do is hear me and hopefully just transfix on the visual. And if you want to glance around and see Nilly or me kind of like play or shred or whatever, you can squint and try to make us out, but it really isn't about us except for the sound that we make.
Yeah, exactly. There's definitely that focus on the cartoon in the background, and you guys are like dark and like lit up at the same time, like almost looking like ethereal
Yeah, that's
sparkles
the
out
idea. Is
there,
like
just
little kind of
shredding.
yeah, silhouette shredding. In fact, when we rehearse, we practice in the dark. It's just because there's such little light up on stage. We don't want to break the spell. Like I said, it's a hypnosis and it's an immersion, a big immersion thing, and I don't want to break that spell at all. At the very end, we'll say hello, thanks for coming, but it's not about me, it's about the sounds that we make.
Yeah. And where are you from? And is there anywhere that you're hitting on tour that you're really looking forward to going to for the first time or returning to?
I really love traveling across America and meeting people who are interested in heavy metal. That, like, the thing is, I think part of our from home movies to Metalocalypse, because these shows are about creativity, I meet very creative people that are fans, that are artists, that are musicians, that play guitar, that whatever it is, they're usually pretty creative. So I don't really have one place in particular I'm excited to go to. I mean, I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Illinois. So I'm from Springfield, Illinois originally. We don't ever play there, but we will be, I think, playing a show in Chicago. We may be adding that very soon. Um, but uh but yeah, I also, I grew up in Central California after I moved from the Midwest, and then I lived on the East Coast. So I've lived in every part of America, kind of like the middle and on either side. I lived on the East Coast when I was in music school. I love going to Boston, so I love going there and playing there and walking down my old, where I used to hang out during music school. So that's all very exciting. America's in a really crazy place right now, and I think it needs heavy metal more than ever because it is a coping mechanism and it's also kind of like a calm inside of a storm. And it's a great way to really blow off steam, and I think the world needs to blow off some steam right now. And America definitely needs to like kind of uh to utilize heavy metal for what, for its intentions is like to stabilize, basically. I know some Scandinavians were talking about that it does make it feel like the chaos, the craziness, there's a calm at the center of it. And that's what metal gives me. And especially like bands like Amon Amarth, who I do think write like powerful music that's very like um, harmonic and melodic on top of being heavy. I really like that. My ears are drawn to melody and drawn to harmony, but they're restricted by what extreme metal. So I'm always trying to find ways to make sure the music is exciting, energetic, and somewhat emotional at the same time. So so I think that's part of like the therapy of extreme music too, is just getting that feeling together. And I get it from so many different bands. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of what I'm looking forward to is meeting up with people and I think this is fun. I love the job that I do on stage. It's really fun. It's a really serious challenge and it's never easy. But that's why it's the ultimate brain puzzle for me.
Metal music, it sounds angry, but that's not the only emotion that it can convey.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff. There's hope inside of there. There's dread. There's ferocity, there's rage, there's everything. There's a lot of stuff. I think I may have another interview scheduled.
Oh,
Uh,
sorry to keep you long, but thank you so much for your time, man. It's been
I hope that
awesome.
I answered everything okay for you.
Yeah, no, that was really awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to this tour, looking forward to everything else you have coming.
Awesome, man. Thanks for checking out the show so many times.
Of course, man. Take care.
All right, I'll see you later.